Here's an old test problem. They had to create a page called web form, and on it there was a form that collected some data. As you can see that, it was submitted to a page called info.php. Okay, but what you need to realize is you're looking for a text box called student, a radio button called fan, and there were three options there: Yankees, Red Sox, or other, depending which was their favorite team. They also needed a pick list to choose their favorite sport. That included options of baseball, football, basketball, or hockey, and it would all be done with the get method. Now, what's going to happen when you submit that data? Well, let's take a look at the parts of the info page. First of all, if you had sent a variable called student, then it would have just basically said hello to that student. Also, if you had a variable called fan, it would go through and take a look at that and say, well, if you're a Yankee, it would say one thing. If you're a Red Sox, it would say another. And if you were not Yankee and not Red Sox, well, then it would say something completely different. We also had a variable called sport, and so it would get the sport. And if it was baseball, it would say one thing, or football, basketball, or hockey. So just simple. Basically, you needed three variables: student, fan, and sport. So let's take a look at the first student's form. Okay, notice their name is whatever for the form, and you could call it whatever you wanted. But for student name, they don't have an input type equals text to gather the student name. It just says student name. Notice that their sport isn't named sport, it's named S. So what would happen when it hits the info.php page? It wouldn't have a sport. They also have the words Yankees and Red Sox placed incorrectly within the input type equals radio. That's all right, but the Yankee and Red Sox needs to be on the outside of that. Now, let's take a look at the second one. What do we got going here? Well, their sports are check boxes. It was supposed to be a pick list, which is a select statement. But what did they do? They called it check boxes. That means they can choose all of them. Of course, they named each of them sport, which you can't do that. If you were using check boxes, they'd all have to be separately named. Let's take a look at the next one. Again, radio button name equals team. Well, that's fine, except for the fact that I'm looking for fan. And the value, never mind the fact that Yankees is misspelled, it should be EES, but it shouldn't have a capital Y. Red Sox shouldn't have a capital R and S, and others shouldn't have a capital O, because that's not what the options were given to them. In the pick list, that's select name equals sport, and they have their options, but they also put BRs at the end. They have BRs at the end of the radio buttons, that's fine, but you don't want to have them in your pick list. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. This one's pretty good, actually. The only thing they have, and it's not technically wrong, they misspelled the word Red Sox because they wanted to give their own particular slant on the Red Sox baseball team, and there's nothing technically wrong with that. Wasn't what I wanted, but that's okay. All right, here's another one. Let's take a look how they spelled Red Sox. The value, now I know the word Sox is really S-O-C-K-S, but you can't put what you feel like it. You have to put what the question called for. And again, you can't use check boxes for football, basketball, baseball, and hockey because it called for a pick list. It would be great if you did have check boxes if that's what we wanted, but it's not what we wanted. All right, moving on to the next one. Another person giving their personal opinion about the Red Sox. But again, using check box, name equals sport, you can't do that. It had to be a pick list. Let's go on to the next one. Name equals choice for the radio button? I don't think so. I think we called it fan. How the heck can you come up with choice? And as far as favorite team, we were trying to figure out your favorite team. Why do you have an input? Name equals favorite team, type equals team. There's no such thing as a type equal team. That doesn't even make sense. And sometimes you'll find As in this example, the input name equals student type equals text is fine, except this equal 20, they're missing a single quote. 99% right is 100% wrong. We've seen that a million times. Here's another one. Yankees, Red Sox, and then Yankees, Red Sox? What the heck does that mean? That was supposed to be other. All right, let's take a look at this one. Name equals S for a select statement. It was sport. Input type equals checkbox, name equals student. No, student was supposed to be a text box, not a checkbox. Actually, it wouldn't be a text box. It would be, but you would call it type equals text. And lastly, form, name was supposed to be equal to whatever, not minus whatever.